This winter weather pattern is about to get even crazier over the next couple of weeks as we are anticipating multiple different winter storms, a growing heat wave across the deep south and the southeast that's shattering records and will do for the next several days, and then an Arctic blast is likely around the middle of February. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next couple of weeks, and we'll begin with what's happening across the country today. And for most areas, things are relatively quiet. Back over in the Ohio Valley, Southern Plains, and Southeast, we are dealing with a very typical La Nina weather pattern for the winter, where it's just dry and overall warm, and it's actually record-breaking warm in many areas. We've been having a ton of records already shattered from yesterday's heat. We are expecting Thursday to be the biggest record-breaking heat day of the entire year thus far, with over 30 different locations expecting record-breaking high temperatures. We'll talk more about that here in just a few minutes. Back over on the West Coast, we have atmospheric river events that continue to dump tons of snow and rain across the West Coast, including the higher elevations of California and the Sierra Nevada, where around 100 to 150 inches of snow is in the forecast. Already seen a lot of snow, and again, more is to come here over the next few days. Eventually, as we go into tomorrow, we are expecting this area of energy to develop into a winter weather event and likely a winter storm Wednesday night into Thursday across the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and the Northeast, and this will only be the beginning for the winter storm train that is forming in the United States. So let's go ahead and talk more about these winter storms that'll be coming to the United States, and also the massive heat wave that is building in the country, and then eventually the Arctic blasts. We'll begin with what's happening here over the next couple of days. As we go into tonight and as well as into tomorrow morning, things are relatively dry anywhere east of the Rocky Mountains, as snow and rain will continue on the West Coast from a powerful atmospheric river. Eventually, as we go into Wednesday morning, that is the beginning of freezing rain and snow falling back over in northern Missouri, western Illinois, and Iowa. We are expecting a relatively significant ice event to take place here across several different states. This is going to be a very problematic winter storm on Wednesday and Thursday, because look at this. By Wednesday night, we are dealing with a large area of freezing rain anywhere from Iowa back into northern Illinois and also through the Ohio Valley, and this is only going to intensify as we go into Wednesday night into early Thursday morning, with lots of freezing rain falling, and at times heavy freezing rain back over in northern Indiana and northern Ohio, and this could actually lead to some isolated power outages. So definitely make sure if you have any friends or family in this area that they are aware that there's a potential here even for some isolated power outages due to ice accumulation. Eventually, as we go into Thursday morning, that freezing rain will continue to move into the northeast. The snow will be mostly off to the north here. If you're in the upper Midwest, you can expect a few inches of snow out of this. The more significant threat for snow is actually going to be in New England as we go throughout the day Thursday, as a widespread 3 to 6 inches of snow is in the forecast, but it will eventually transition into a mess. We're going to be dealing with freezing rain right behind that in New England, and then eventually transitioning into a pure rain in southern New England, as snow will be primarily off to the north as we go into Thursday night back over in Canada, and then eventually into Friday morning it is clearing out. Now, that's not our only winter storm in the northeast. We are expecting another one as we go into Saturday and as well as into Sunday, and it's going to rival the same pretty much picture here with where it's located and also what precipitation types we're talking about, as freezing rain will likely occur here across Iowa back into Maryland, and then snow back over in the upper Midwest Saturday afternoon, and then eventually into the evening and into the overnight hours Saturday into Sunday morning. Snow once again impacting basically the same areas back over in the Great Lakes, upper Midwest, and also back into New England, while freezing rain leads to ice accumulation back over in Pennsylvania, southern New York, and as well as back through Maryland. Almost identical when it comes to the intensity and as well as the track. There are some differences, but obviously nothing really major in terms of the broad overview here. And then eventually, as we go into Sunday morning, it will continue to dump snow in New England before eventually moving out. You're probably thinking, that's it, right? Well, once we start to see the jet stream dip further down to the south and we start to see Arctic air coming out of Canada, I do think we're eventually going to see some sort of large winter storm form back over either in the Central Plains or the Ohio Valley. The European model for right now does indicate the worst of this would be back over in the Northeast, which, by the way, if you're in the Northeast, definitely prepare for a lot of snow here over the next couple of weeks. It looks like it's going to be very active. And then eventually around February 15th, which is almost 2 weeks from now, we are likely going to stay very active here in the United States. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. I think the next few weeks here are going to be very busy when it comes to both snow and as well as the threat here for an Arctic blast. And the Climate Prediction Center does agree that there is at least a slight chance for there being some heavy snowfall anywhere from around the Central Plains back into the New England area as we get closer to the middle of February. This is the area that I'll be watching for a winter storm in this time frame, and it could be a rather significant winter storm. Again, February is notorious for some big winter storms. I definitely think there's a chance for one as we go into the middle of February. Now, unfortunately, we are going to have ice accumulation from this winter storm Wednesday into Thursday. We are expecting a large area to at least have a glazing of ice, so untreated roadways could be dangerous. There's also a risk for some power outages, especially if you're in the darker purples. That is where we have the potential for some power outages due to ice accumulation. And I truly do think this could be a relatively significant ice storm here in the Northeast. I think a lot of areas are at least going to see a tenth of an inch of ice up to a quarter of an inch of ice across Pennsylvania, southern New York, and also in southern New England. But there could be some spots, especially back over in central Pennsylvania, that get as high as a half an inch of ice accumulation, which would again be prone to producing the potential for power outages. Now, out of this winter storm, we're not expecting a whole lot of snow back over in the upper Midwest. However, I do want to point out that that next winter storm, as we go into Saturday into Sunday, that could be a more rather significant winter storm back over in the upper Midwest. So definitely something to watch for. Again, I think it's a little too early to get into specific numbers here, just giving you a general idea that that second winter storm would likely be more significant when it comes to snowfall accumulation. And then back over in the Northeast, this is what we're expecting throughout the day Thursday and as well as into early Friday. Most areas in the Northeast expecting a widespread 3 to 6 inches of snow out of this winter storm. And again, I think that second winter storm could be the more significant one where it dumps an additional 4 to 8 inches of snowfall. Now, keep in mind, it is still early. There definitely could be some changes to the forecast on the weekend winter storm, but confidence is growing that that will also be a relatively significant winter storm. You might be wondering, will the next couple of weeks be snowy? Well, the European ensembles right now throughout the next couple of weeks are indicating that there's definitely going to be a lot of snowfall out there, especially back over in the Northeast. Again, this is a bit more of a wild card right now, basically anywhere back over in the southern or central plains and then back through the Ohio Valley. But there is definitely going to be a shot, I think, for at least one, if not maybe two different snow events. This is the probability of seeing greater than 1 inch of snowfall. If you're in the dark red, you're basically going to see at least a little bit of snowfall. So anywhere back over in the Pacific Northwest, almost all of Canada, back through the northern plains, upper Midwest, and also back into the Northeast. And then if you're wondering if there's a chance for a more significant winter storm between now all the way through the middle of February, you would have to go over into the Northeast or back over into the Pacific Northwest or in the Sierra Nevada to see any sort of significant snowfall accumulation. But overall, this again, the probability of seeing greater than 6 inches of snow, highly doubt we're going to see a repeat of what we just saw a couple weeks ago back over in the Gulf Coast. Now let's talk more about what's going to be really changing over the next few days, and that is the temperatures. We are talking about an insane heat wave for this time of the year back over in the southern plains and the southeast. We are talking about well above average temperatures that are actually going to go as far north as the Ohio Valley, even with there being that threat for a winter storm as we go throughout Wednesday and Thursday. Back over in the Ohio Valley in the Northeast, we'll have many areas around, if not above, record-breaking high temperatures, and we'll show you where those areas are here in just a moment. As we go into the weekend, things start to calm down just a little bit. We'll have another little shot here of heat that builds back over in the Ohio Valley, southern plains, and the southeast, but eventually, as we go into early next week, that is when that heat subsides, and that is when we're going to be watching for the threat of several different cold blasts and perhaps even a large Arctic blast. And the thinking now is that we are going to see this Arctic blast right around the early to mid portion of next week across the Midwest and as well as back through the Great Plains. Exactly how cold it gets is still a little uncertain. There's been a lot of back and forth between the models in terms of when this Arctic blast is actually going to happen, but it'll likely be towards the early to mid portion of next week. And then eventually, as we get closer to the weekend, I think things start to warm back up again, and then we'll likely have another shot of Arctic air sometime closer to the later half of February. Now, the temperatures over the next few days will continue to break a ton of records. This is what it looks like today in terms of our high temperatures. You might think this looks pretty normal for February. Well, it really is not. Many areas like Texas are usually in the 50s this time of the year. We're going to have upper 70s back over in North Texas, and even back over into Virginia and North Carolina. You're going to need shorts and a t-shirt. We're into the 70s, flip-flop warning back over there. And then as we go into Thursday, this is going to be probably the warmest day of the entire week. We are expecting record-breaking high temperatures across the Ohio Valley and as well as back through Texas and into the southeast, and many areas are going to be breaking records on Thursday. So these are some of the places that can expect record-breaking high temperatures. This is what we're looking at today, mostly in the southeast and also even back through the Four Corner states. We are expecting many record-breaking high temperatures. Tomorrow is the same story, just a bit more focused down into the deep south and as well as the southern plains. Thursday is the day that almost every place will be breaking records in Texas, back through areas in the deep south and also through the southeast, even up into Kentucky. We're expecting some record-breaking high temperatures. Friday, it shifts over to Florida, and then by Saturday, it is just going to continue. Even into Sunday, we are expecting some record-breaking highs back over in the southeast. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you've not already.